Again, I forget to push the button. Hello, and welcome to another edition of Wake and Bake News with your host, Shampoo VTA. And these are some vanilla kush nugs. Aren't they gorgeous? They smell good too. So let's load a bowl and get to the stories. The birdie says, yes, let's get to the stories. The best part of waking up. Richard got a really super nice mug he got at the Canadian Glass show from Redbeard Glass. I really like it, but I know they're kind of expensive. It's big, it's huge. I need coffee. Not. I wonder if you do this shit. How much would they cost? Thousands of dollars? I don't have thousands of dollars. Best part about it was when he hit his, because it's all glass, you could see all the smoke filling the inside of the mug. It was very cool. Okay. I'm just like, oh, that would be a neat one too. They also have clay ones, but the glass one's very cool. I bet you that costs a little money. Alright. And I got other things that are more important, more responsible issues I have to deal with. OBKB, so I'm going to get to the story. So I would like to link to Jane Dro's story from yesterday, especially her big news. Now, she and Soundrone have been teaming up to do some things on videos together and live chats and stuff, and she called in Soundrone when she wasn't able to get her show up live on her Monday show, right? And Soundrone covered for her, which I thought was really amazing that you could do that at all on YouTube. I was like, oh, that's cool, man, that you could call in a friend, Okay, so yesterday I was amazingly excited for her because she's moved to California. She's moved to Northern California. She is now living, I guess, on the same piece of land that Soundrone's on. She's got her own house, and it's not like a romantic thing, but Soundrone was like, hey, you should come here, I guess, and advised her on what to do and stuff like that. And so when she arrived, I guess the welcome wagon came, and that's what she talks about in this video. And she said it's just been an amazing journey, and she's never felt so welcomed as a medical marijuana patient in a community before, and it's completely different than the other places that she's lived. And I'm like, wow, that's amazing. I mean, and then she cried, and I totally related to that because when I did my video about when I came out and got my patient license and stuff, I could smoke pot on camera for the first time, I was so happy. I had been hiding for so long, and it was so amazing to have that freedom. It just made me cry. It was so amazing. So when she was crying, I was like, oh, that's what I want all stoners everywhere to feel one day. That there's no more fear. There's no more, they don't care. They don't care. They're fine, you know. So that was just really super exciting news, and it's like, wow. So now Jane Dro has moved to California, and so has Weed Porn Daily. He moved to see me. She's in Northern California. We get Stony Sundays here. Getting Dug with High is here. And oh my gosh, Be Real from Cypress Hill does like where he smokes pot in his car. And he has people sign the inside of his luxury car. So we've got like all these shows like here in California. It's like It's like pop media or something now on YouTube. They should be linked. It should be like a whole California, and then we could link to Canada and see all the Canadian shows and Texas, as their shows begin to build and stuff. You could have like a whole stoner network. I think that's really awesome because it isn't just that they moved here; it's that they do videos, and they just arrived in time for the fight for legalization. Now that is going to be super exciting. I just can't wait to watch that. I just can't wait to watch that and see her reports. I just can't wait. She's just the girl for that. It's awesome. Okay, let's get to the first story. Take another hit. I'm going to talk later on about a story about urine testing that gets me riled up because I have been hugely against urine testing since it began. I just think it is so invasive, and you have no effing right to do that to people, especially for them to be accepted in a job or anything like that. To me, it is one of the things that Jesus fought for. I know I'm getting back to the religious thing, but one of the things he fought for was that at the time you could not enter this Jewish temple or whatever if you did not go into this pool and get clean first. That's why the bathing thing and baptism was all big. It was magical, right? So you could not enter the holy place and pray or do whatever it is in order to receive whatever it is that they receive. It's like us. It's probably, you come closer to God because you're in the temple or whatever. Okay, so they weren't even allowed in the door if they did not go bathe in these pools. And if they were poor or they were ill or lame or something like that, they weren't allowed to bathe in these pools. So that was one of the things that I understood from a show I saw on TV that Jesus was like fighting for, was these guys were able to, and you are keeping them out of the church. And then you're using the front part of the church to basically change money in order for them, because you can't use certain coins in order for them to go in and pay their tithe or whatever it is, right? That's what the money changers is. And then they take a percentage of whatever because you came in with some other currency, so they're like fucking fleecing you right there at the door and shit, So I'm not happy with the urine testing. I think that it is really immoral, super immoral, and really bordering on a twisted, futuristic, apocalyptic kind of society. That they test you, that they suspect everybody, that is the sort of, well, I'm just going to go on about it when I get to it. But, I've been always pissed off about the urine testing. It's so unheard of and so 1984 creepy. I can't see how it's justified unless you're flying a plane, driving a train, Is juicing raw marijuana the next green drink? Okay, this is actually Fox News. Every morning, Katie Marsh starts her day with a green smoothie infused with cannabis. Marsh, a Madawaska, Maine, blends of yogurt, fruit, and thawed juice cannabis. To drink it straight is kind of better, but it's not at all objectionable in a smoothie, she said. Now, Marsh apparently has such horrible pain that she had to take all kinds of painkillers and medications that were, that threatened her liver, devastated her living, and she wanted to kick all these different kinds of medications and painkillers. So eventually she got into the idea of smoking marijuana, and then somebody suggested that she start juicing marijuana because her doctor had recommended her getting into juicing anyway to fight the symptoms of her disease, right? So, since Marsh had already been growing and juicing wheatgrass and making other types of greens, it seemed like a no-brainer. I had never heard of it before, but it immediately resonated with me, she said. I saw results very quickly. Within a matter of a couple of days, I was able to stop the uh, prednisone. This is why I didn't go read it because there's a lot of pill names that are very long. And ibuprofen, she said. Now, 11 months later, Marsh still has small amounts of pain in her feet from damage done by rheumatoid arthritis, but her condition is in remission. Is cannabis the new kale? When it is consumed in a leafy green vegetable, you get the whole profile of the plant, Courtney said. Unlike heated forms of cannabis, smoked, vaporized, and in baked goods, raw dietary cannabis contains both the terpenes and aromatic compounds of the plant and the cannabinoids, the chemical compounds which are also in the correct portion and ratio. Courtney points to about 8,000 of these patients who have seen positive effects from ingesting raw dietary cannabis, whether it's juiced, blended, or chopped up and added to coleslaw. My experience day to day out is overwhelmingly positive with patients who are using it. Now, I juice cannabis for my husband and I because he does not enjoy the psychoactive effects. He gets really super paranoid and doesn't enjoy it, right? I love it. Makes me feel so relaxed and calm and wonderful and happy and all those things that people say. So juicing is like a fabulous alternative, and I thought it was really amazing that actually Fox News had this very, in my opinion, positive story about juicing cannabis. So I will put a link to that, and I won't read it all because it's mostly about how much pain she's been in and how much it helps her to get off those medications, but really about just how much she suffered. It's just terrible. Okay. Flying high. Oregon Airport lets in-state passengers fly with marijuana. Portland International Airport is allowing passengers who are flying to destinations within the state of Oregon to carry marijuana on their flights. Portland television station KPTV reports Oregon recently joined Colorado in legalizing recreational marijuana use within its state borders, and the state's residents are, as of July 1st, allowed to carry an ounce of the drug on their person. Airports in Colorado elected to continue banning marijuana on their grounds after the state's legalization effort, citing Transportation Security Administration rules. But Portland's airports is permitting passengers to keep their possessions if their destination is also within Oregon, according to a report. This is really what I'm hoping for California. That way you could fly up to San Francisco or back down, and it's not gonna be like we have northern weed and southern. You can, take your weed with you. You don't have to, oh, I went up this weekend and had the northern weed. You can bring your weed with you if you like your weed. Uh-oh, little cloggy. Oh no. What shall I use? What pointy type object shall I use? Quickly. Quickly. Cloggy. That's what I love about this thing. It's so easy to clean. As I thought about those other ones, I was talking about I'm sorry, because I already tried this video once and decided this would be better. But I was saying I really liked Freddie Pritchard's Redbeard mug that he has. That's a pipe. It's really cool because you can see the smoke go around on the inside. Same idea, except it's a tall beer mug and it's glass, and you can see the smoke go around. And plus the handles, it's like you hit here and the handle's a bowl or something. So cool. But I wondered, how do it's you're gonna have to do the salt and everything, cleaning. And I do like about this lame design that I have, which it is lame. At least I can take it apart and clean it. I can see when it's cloggy and stuff like that, and get in there real quick. I still like his better. I like the glass one. I think the glass one's really bitchin'. Okay. You can't see how dirty my butt is. Back to this. Oh, you're just being stupid. Okay. So airports in Colorado elected to continue banning marijuana on other grounds after that state's legalization effort. Been having power issues. Maybe my battery's taking a dump. Okay. TSA officials say they do not go out of their way to look for marijuana during their passengers' checks. But if they carry something that's against federal law, basically they're going to turn you in to the federal government if you have weed on you too. So don't bring guns and things and knives that you shouldn't bring if you bring weed. And just keep it on the D-low. And it sounds like if you're traveling within the state, you'll be just fine. And it'd be nice. I hope they do this for California. California is a huge state. We don't want all this stuff just driving around on the roads, do we? Forcing everybody to drive up and down the state. Okay. They just beat a little bit. It's weird. It's acting weird. Planning to grow marijuana at home, expert growers offer advice. So this is Oregon. And the way I found out about this was Russ Belville posted a picture of himself reading this newspaper, his local newspaper, and on the back it shows how to grow marijuana and like a pile of seeds. And I'm like, oh, I can't wait for that to happen here. I can't wait for my local paper that is so funny to have to post a grow guide, or because people will have questions. It's legal now. What are you gonna do? Ignore it? So I think that'll be really exciting if that happens here. I can't wait to see that. Hold up a paper. Look, a grower's guide in my local paper. So there's like a video and everything, which of course I can't play because there's stupid Windows 7. Planning to grow marijuana at home, wondering whether to start from seeds or clones, when to harvest, and how much you can expect from your first grow or first try. Check out the Oregonian Oregon Live's Green Thumb Speaker series at the Mission Theater on Tuesday. Register for the event here. We've assembled a panel of pros to talk to you through the basics of growing to grow your own of basics of how to grow your own cannabis. The event goes from 6 p.m. to 7:30 p.m. So it sounds like you can go to this event and learn about growing marijuana, whether or not to start from seeds or clones. And I would say seeds. I've done clones, and clones kind of act funny. Cloning works, but they kind of don't. My clones, anyway, are not as vigorous, I think, as the buds I've had from seed. They take a while, to get going. They're always kind of funny shaped. At least mine. Okay. This I thought was very important, so I'm going to read it. This is from Normal. Learning to accept victory and build on it. Over the years, marijuana legalization advocates became effective at gradually building public support for our issues. Even as we continue to lose votes, When our elected officials focus on marijuana policy, we learn to lose creatively. We became accustomed to years when it was difficult to identify any real political progress. For example, we won not a single statewide marijuana law reform proposal between 1978, when Nebraska became the last of 11 states to adopt a modified version of marijuana decriminalization, following the release of the first report of the National Commission on Marijuana and Drug Abuse, which recommended the countries decriminalize minor possession and personal use offenses. And 1996, when California approved Proposition 215 legalizing the medical use of marijuana. 18 years without a single significant victory is, by any definition, a long political winter. All of us stoners that are stoners from the olden days, have been through all of it. Just before the internet, when High Times Magazine was like one of your only sources to find out what the hell was going on. Thank God for our local head shops. Thank God for head shops, man. When they say long political winter, they are not kidding. But over those years, and continuing still today, we learn to hone the skills to make small gains, and at least in public attitude. Even as we lost the immediate political votes, whether at the local level or at the state legislature, at a minimum, we learned to present a public image of marijuana smokers that was more professional and mainstream than opponents were accustomed to confronting, which over time helped us turn around the exaggerated anti-marijuana biases common in the media, resulting in a more balanced public debate over marijuana policies that in turn began causing many non-smokers to reassess their views on marijuana policy. Now, some of those exaggerated, overblown biases was things like, okay, like I was talking to my mom in the 80s about this when I was in high school, and it got to this point in a conversation where she said, well, all I know is I remember this one episode of Dragnet where these people were smoking marijuana at a party and this lady let her baby drown in the bathtub. And I was like, how am I supposed to compete with an episode of Dragnet? I'm a kid in high school talking about like reason and science and not, fantasy and Hollywood and things, Very difficult to argue past that with your parents. And even as we continue to lose reform proposals, we were also identifying more and more elected officials who has the political courage to stand up to the war on drugs, who would sponsor our reform legislation in the coming years out of necessity, or political misfortunes had forced us to learn how to lose creatively, to come out of the losing effort with more support than we started with. Okay. But let's see, what to do with majority support. But when something incredible occurs, beginning in 2010, for the first time we demonstrated sufficient public support to approve full legalization initiatives in 2 states, a step that only a few years ago had seemed unrealistic and out of reach. And beginning in 2012, a handful of national polls began to reflect the new reality that for the first time, a majority of Americans nationwide now oppose marijuana prohibition and favor legalization. That growing public support made it possible for us to win legalization proposals in additional states, as we did in 2014 and expect to do again in 2016, so long as we are willing to make some concessions to satisfy the concerns of non-smokers who let's see, who compromise the vast majority of comprise the vast majority of voters, 86%. We can continue to win these precedent-setting laws to legalize and regulate the use of marijuana and to stop the arrests of marijuana smokers in more and more states. It is important as we continue to move forward that we recognize the value of slow, steady change and that we learn to accept and enjoy our victories as they occur, even though they will seldom be as complete as we might wish, and will require additional work in the coming years to fix problems that remain. It is far easier to fine-tune these laws, to make them work in a more equitable manner once marijuana smoking has been legitimized and marijuana smokers are no longer considered criminals. Learning to accept victory and build on it. I have been reminded of the fact recently, of that fact recently, when I observed colleagues who are allies in the legalization movement, but who were upset with political compromise that occurred as part of the implementation of legalization in Oregon. And we're making allegations that all was lost, that some advocates had sold their souls, and that legalization in Oregon is not real legalization since there are limits and regulations that apply. In fact, the version of legalization adopted in Oregon is the best to date from the perspective of marijuana smokers. Incidentally, there were a handful of voters, loud but not large, in both Colorado and Washington who made those same claims when those states were passing and implementing legalization, and who continue today to file suit seeking to have the state's legalization initiatives declared invalid and unconstitutional, leaving prohibition still in effect in those states, and in other ways seeking to undermine the new legalization system currently in effect. To some degree, we should recognize that social movements attract true believers, many of whom are purists who oppose compromise and insist on demands that would never be acceptable to a majority of the voters in the state. Why should we should welcome their involvement and support when they join us in opposing prohibition, but separate ourselves from them politically when they insist that we should not adopt marijuana legalization because the version they are voting on is less than perfect. Standing tall for the principle is a good thing, but knowing which principles are important and which are self-defeating is an essential skill for any advocate. Accepting responsible compromise that assures the majority of voters in a state will support an end to prohibition and agree to a system of regulating the legal sale of marijuana to adults is basic to winning this fight. Most Americans are not marijuana smokers, only 14% are, nor are they pro-pot. In fact, one recent national survey found that while a majority of the public nationwide now supports an end to marijuana prohibition, only 54% of those same individuals had a negative impression of recreational marijuana smokers. They support ending prohibition because they now recognize prohibition causes far more problems than the use of the drug we were trying to prohibit, but they are not pro-pot, and they remain concerned that legalizing may result in some unintended consequences that will harm society. Just this past week, we learned from a new Gallup poll taken at the end of June 2015 that 47% of the public believes the for example, that legalization will make driving in those states less safe. 30% believe it will make driving a lot less safe, and 17% say a little less safe. Of course, that's all ridiculous, but we know. We have to convince them that it is not less safe, that it is fine. I lost my place. Here we go. Okay. Fortunately, the data from the first few states to legalize marijuana have not shown an increase in DUID causes or accidents blamed on pot intoxication. But we still must deal with that concern and take responsible steps to reassure those non-smokers that we too oppose impaired driving and support reasonable efforts to keep them off the road. Note, I am not talking about drivers with some THC in their system, but drivers who are actually impaired. There is an important distinction between those two categories, and that means that you may even see somebody hitting a pipe and driving, but that may not necessarily be impairing them right then, depending on what their tolerance is and all this kind of crazy stuff. It is fascinating. It is not alcohol. That is the whole point of this. It is very different than alcohol. It is not just going to be a breathalyzer away to, regulation is not just a breathalyzer away like with alcohol. It's not that big a deal, and that's why it's hard to detect. If it was a big deal, there'd be people crashing and all over the place. You'd see them outside your house. There's another one. But they aren't there, are they? Alcohol, they drive down the street and hit your car like it was a pinball game. Ping, 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 all the way home. Ping, 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 ping. Okay. Fortunately, the data shows that this is not true. Those of us who work for legalization must occasionally stand back and step and take a realistic assessment of the enormous progress we have made over the last few years, especially the legalization victories we have achieved in 4 states and the District of Columbia. Of course, none of these first few states' laws are perfect from the standpoint of those of us who smoke looking forward. We must find ways to treat responsible marijuana smokers fairly regarding employment issues, child custody, and the definition of impaired driving. But those are reasons for redirecting ourselves to continuing the political and educational efforts necessary to come back and improve these laws, and to try to assure that each new law that is approved by the voters brings us a little closer to a model law. But most importantly, minor imperfections in these initial laws do not justify opposing or undermining their implementation. We are ending a corrupt system that resulted in the unnecessary and unfair arrests of tens of millions of otherwise law-abiding Americans, and the resulting damage caused to those individuals and their families. We are achieving what most Americans only a few years ago would have thought impossible. Not would have thought that it was impossible, they did think it was impossible. Let's enjoy and celebrate these victories and stop focusing on what we have not yet accomplished. These new legalization victories are changing the way the world looks at marijuana and marijuana smokers. It's a great time to be alive if you're a marijuana smoker. Let's enjoy it. Let's enjoy it. Really like that one. Very well said. And it's true that you're going to get people that are going to be diehards, and actually, that's great, because those guys are always going to be hawkish and looking out for things, and they're never going to be satisfied, and it's kind of something that each party needs, is that base that will not relent, but you can't focus on them. That's not going to win elections. The Republicans are about to find this out in the debates. Oh, it's all very well to love whatever his name is, freaking that crazy rich guy. Anyway, it's all very well to love the fact that he calls Mexican people all kinds of fun names that you enjoy, but that's not going to get him elected president. Trump, that's his name. Yeah, that's not going to get him elected president. Okay. So I found 2 videos this morning from the Chalice Festival, and that is this drone footage and also Smoker's Guide. And Tokin Daily was here in California this weekend, and he did some stuff. I guess there's some kind of website called Periscope. I don't know. I get tired of chasing all you people all over the internet to these social. It's like, oh, now we're doing this. I remember when MySpace was a thing, and then I had to go over here to Twitter and Facebook, and now Periscope. I feel like, oh, where are we going now? We're leaving this house, but this house was okay, So anyway, so I'll post these stories about Chalice, and he was posting some things, and he did a couple of videos, and he did a bunch of stuff, I guess, on Snapchat or something like that. I don't know. They're so hard to keep up with. I'm trying. Should be some way to organize it all. Okay. Law firm pours money into medical marijuana push. I am pointing a story out because this is about Florida, and this is about the gentleman who owns this law firm. I believe his name is John Morgan, and he pushed for the last initiative that barely missed passing to make medical marijuana legal in Florida. And barely missed means nearly got 60%. So in California, that's not a barely miss. That is, you won. You won. But for some reason in Florida, oh, you missed it there. Oh, you were off by just a hair. It's a weird place. But anyway, they're going to go for it again. And this is about some of the money that they've been putting in to fund the effort. And I guess some of it has also been put in California's effort. But remember that his arch enemy or nemesis is Sheldon, what's his name? This super rich guy that owns casinos, and I guess he's invested in drug companies, but he's also invested in marijuana, and he put in the most money to fight legalization in Florida last time. Adelson, that's his name. Adelbrained. Sheldon Adel something or other. And he's apparently, I don't even think he's necessarily against medical marijuana. I think he just doesn't want anyone else to make money at it or something like that. It's like, no, if there's going to be a market, I'm going to be in charge. That's the feeling I got from reading the stories out of Florida from their last election. Okay, as marijuana attitudes ease, workplace drug testing companies brace for a fight. Well, you better brace, because you are a bunch of flim-flam artists, and we're going to hear some of the flim-flam right here. I would like to stop for a moment and remember the article that we just read from Normal that said that the majority of American voters do not smoke pot. Okay, only 14%. So I'm going to just point that out and say, why are we drug testing for it then? If the majority of employees are not smoking pot, why are we testing for it? Just a question. Just a question I had. Especially after reading this, oh my goodness, it's everywhere article. I went, but wait a minute. How come in this other article it says that the majority of American voters are not pot smokers, actually don't support it? Why are you testing them? fight. I don't think there's going to be a fight. I think it's going to be like a few simple questions, and they're going to go abba, and that'll be about the end of that. As attitudes towards marijuana became more lenient and states authorized or become its use for medical and medicinal or even recreational purposes, a long simmering debate over the efficacy of workplace drug testing has found a new flashpoint. Testing people's urine is so immoral. Making that a requirement for getting a job so you can help your family is so fucking immoral and makes you so evil, in my opinion. If they're not flying a plane, driving a bus filled with children, or a train or something like that, or operating on people, I have no effing idea why you are harassing low-paid employees when that money could be going into their paycheck. And I'm a business. Aren't you tired of being fleeced by these crooks to send them, I mean, of all things, in God's name, urine, and then to hold what, your business license and your professional, reputation over your head because you sent them urine that wasn't acceptable? When are you going to be tired of this bullshit? Because it's a total scam. I could go on for days about this, but even when they do the testing, it's a show. It's a performance. Either you're going to a doctor's office and there's a little window and the bathroom's right over here. I want you to take this cup, and if you're testing to see if you're pregnant, you're like, whoa, okay, give me the cup, But if you're testing to see if you're, on marijuana or something like that, you're like, and then you're trying to figure out in the bathroom what to do. Maybe you got your urine, maybe you got a friend's urine that you've been keeping warm, maybe you got a fake penis, I don't know, and you're peeing with the fake penis, your friend's urine, or urine you bought online, okay, because there's a whole industry behind buying fake penises, rubbery penises, to put in your pants, so when the police stand over you, and that's a whole other show, because when the police come to your school to urine test you, it's bum 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 bum, get out of the car, bum 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 bum, they're dressed in black like Batman, bum bum bum, they're wearing utility belts, combat boots, they're going to be spending most of their day standing in toilets with combat boots and 5'11" pants. Dun, 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 dun. At least from what I've seen the other day. Okay, so then they come, they get the, somebody gets a student out of class, brings them up, and then dun, 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 we open the bathroom door. They kick us in, and there's someone there, there's someone outside the door. Dun, dun, dun. They all look so, it's just so amazingly, what the hell? I have changed diapers. Nobody needed combat boots. Nobody needed anything to take a diaper off a child and wipe its little rear end. And trust me, that child is fighting you. Alright? That feels like war. Okay? I used to be like a freaking rodeo person getting my kid. Okay, no, put that down. No, you're not moving. Oh, you tried, but no, doing a kid's diaper, I mean, that's a serious thing with toileting right there. Most of those kids that you're testing, they know if they're going to come up dirty or not, and they'll tell you beforehand, or they'll put on the sag, I can't pee right now. But, they're drinking water like crazy. It's a big game. You're actually kind of endangering the kids because they're walking around with jugs of water and their teacher doesn't let them go to the toilet. There's a chance they can freaking hurt their brains, because they drank too much water. It makes your brain swell or something. So you have to continually urinate the water out that you're drinking. It's just, the urine testing thing pisses me off so much because it is such a gigantic waste of time. It's a scam. And it takes money away from employees and their families. And it makes everybody suspicious of everybody else. Okay, so I'll read the story after my rant. Okay, and you'll be able to hear these guys bullshitting and how they try to convince businesses this is for your own good. You can't trust those employees you hired. You know, the statistics show. Okay, bringing it in. As attitudes towards marijuana become more lenient and state authorize its use medicinally, blah blah, I read all that. Defenders of drug testing maintain that employees who use drugs, including marijuana, have been found to miss more work, cause more accidents, change jobs more frequently. God knows why they would do that. And ultimately cost employers more money. Many of those defenders happen to be part of the drug testing industry. Big surprise. Comprising large diagnostic laboratories and smaller third-party companies, which has mobilized to oppose the wave of legalization and litigation that it expects to rise from the conflict between workplace policies and changes in laws. But voters in 4 states in the District of Columbia have voted to legalize recreational marijuana, and nearly half of the states allow it for medical treatment. This month, Oregon's recreational pot laws went into effect. A Pennsylvania bill that would allow medical marijuana use has passed the state Senate and is under debate for in the House. Democratic Governor Tom Wolf has signaled support, and a Quinnipiac poll in March showed 6 out of 7 registered voters in Pennsylvania support it. No one is following the marijuana issue more closely. According to the Drug and Alcohol Testing Industry Association's website, the association has assembled a pamphlet, oh dear Lord, not a pamphlet, to assist businesses in defending their drug testing programs. So, in other words, you pay this company money to do drug testing, and they come at you with a pamphlet that they probably use some of your money for to tell you about how important it is for you to continue to give them more money because they may need to produce more pamphlets to convince you. I mean, when do you figure out this is a scam exactly? Remember, only 14% smoke pot. 89% of Americans do not. Yet you are having them cross your threshold with urine cups in their hands. Exactly for why? For what? Because these guys are browbeating you into doing it with pamphlets? I mean, grow up. Put the big boy pants on and do what's right for your employees and yourself. It has also agitated all U.S. states, aggregated all U.S. state bills, attempting to change marijuana's legal status, and is soliciting donations to fund its own research to help businesses understand the risk of abandoning drug testing programs. So in other words, you pay for our advertising. Come on, we want to solicit funds from you to pay for advertising for our business. When do you wake up? Exactly. I'm still waiting. Come on, Prince Charming, time to wake up. The association's executive director, Laura Shelton, tells business clients to follow federal regulations, which lists marijuana as a Schedule I drug, an illegal substance with no acceptable medical use in treatment and a high potential for abuse. Well, it sounds like, Max Headroom talking stupid junk. Our advice at that, if you want to maintain a safe and drug-free workplace, if you want to comply with, test for those drugs outlawed under federal regulations, Mr. Shelton said. Effectiveness debate. So here they debate whether or not the drug testing is effective in actually keeping the workplaces clean. And well, yeah, uh, for the larger businesses, the initial testing, yeah. I mean, I've known a lot of people that knew how to get a job and get by the testing. It just taught everybody to have a tolerance for it, basically. But do you think they continue the testing after you hire these employees? I mean, how much fleecing of these companies do you think the companies are actually going to allow you to do? They're going to try to not comply. Do you know why the gentleman in Colorado in the wheelchair got popped for marijuana? Because they actually decided to implement their testing. When before the law was enacted, they didn't bother. Okay? That's what is going on. Alright, so here they say that more and more people are asking for this testing. You know, and they're really concerned, blah, blah, blah. And then somebody else, some other group says, no, that testing is, there's no proof that this makes your worksite any safer. And there's no proof that testing for all these drugs makes your worksite any safer than all your other employees that are allowed to ingest alcohol and you don't test for that. Okay. So legal confusion. I'm not even going to bother to read because it's basically it's, propaganda for them, for their side. So let's just let them argue it. You can go read it yourself. I'm not going to use my mouth to advertise their bullshit. Legal confusion. Drug testing supporters and critics both agree that changing marijuana policies pose a threat to the practice. For an employer who has facilities in several different states, it makes it difficult to have a uniform policy when you have multiple states with different laws, said Claire Gallagher, a labor and employment partner at Eckhart Siemens. Okay. Let's see. Mr. Delaquillant said, Delaquillant said business clients of mobile medical corps, particularly those spread across the country, are confused. They've had real concerns about their employees who may visit somebody or go to work in Colorado or Washington, he said. What happens if someone goes away for the weekend and smokes marijuana and comes back to their job site on Monday? See, under Pennsylvania's medical marijuana bill now being considered, employers would not be allowed to fire employees who are using marijuana off work hours and with a valid doctor's recommendation. Employers would retain the right to fire marijuana patients if they are intoxicated on the job. And that is a difference with Colorado. Again, with the gentleman in the wheelchair who was working for the phone company or whatever and got fired. In the law, it said that if the substance they were using was against federal law, then they had the right to fire them. And here in Pennsylvania, they're going to make it, well, if you're going to be in our state, you need to play by our rules. We don't give a flying hoot what the federal law says. You don't get to practice your business here and then, bow to the federal government and not us, because it's not good for our state. I'm hoping California will do this and just tell everybody, hey, knock it off. Knock it off with the drug testing. It's a huge waste of time. It's a big nightmare. Okay. I mean, they're going to keep pushing it until they're drug testing our kids. They're drug testing everything, everywhere, because think about what a great business model, testing little cups of urine. And then to counteract it, you got another business model where people are selling fake penises and either synthetic or someone else's urine. It's just bizarre. It is just bizarre. It's so 1984 bizarre. How did we ever get here? This is nutty. Robert DuPont, president of the Rockville, Based Institute of Behavior and Health Incorporated, thinks the U.S. Supreme Court will ultimately have to reconcile the disagreement between state and federal laws. Yeah, that's exactly what's going to happen. And guess what you're going to find out? You can't tell patients what they can and cannot take for medication. I don't give a freak blah, blah, blah is. That is immoral. And I would love to see urine testing come before the Supreme Court and to find out that it would be unconstitutional, because I think it probably is. Whether you're in a safety situation or not. I think maybe for that you could argue a little bit, but even that is questionable. Testing people's urine, I mean, just to make them acceptable in your society, that is some stars upon bars, science fiction, freaky. How did we get here? I mean, that's some George Orwellian crazy shit right there. They're up in your urine. What's next? They're gonna listen to your dreams. You're thinking of a song, and that song is copyrighted. Please stop thinking of that song. I mean, what's next? The dream police? Knock it off with the shit. And what's always the basis? Fear, 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 fear. What's the conman's game? Fear, 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 fear. Sell you stories, sell you a lie. Get you afraid and you're gonna buy. Sell you a story, sell you a lie. Get you afraid and you're gonna buy. The urine thing always is so annoying. I always thought that was so stupid. And it prevents people from being able to move into different, jobs and stuff like that, because there's this threat of a urine test. Even I was like going to be hired for the city to do like storytelling, right? And I was going to work for parks and recreations, but they wanted to do urine testing. And I think that any job that makes a person do urine testing is not worth having. Because what kind of a creepy person are you? I don't care what your excuse is. That is Orwellian. You are a creepy fascist. I think it's disgusting. Not to mention what a cushy job that is for people that are doing that kind of work. You know what I do? I'm a pee officer. I go around testing pee. In combat boots. And like 5'11" black pants and a Batman utility belt and what is this clownery? Seriously. Jiminy Christmas. Just crazy. Be afraid to pee. Oh my gosh. And that stuff got really crazy, like in the 80s and stuff. I think it prevented a lot of people from moving to different jobs or something, and they were just kind of stuck in the job that wasn't going to urine test them, and they were there forever. And they were fine, and that job benefited, but not necessarily the person that didn't have any ability to move or do something different with their life or anything, because they're just kind of stuck doing this. This is what I'm relegated to doing. This is the one place where they're not going to do this to me, Plus, I mean, I just seriously don't believe in applying for jobs that do urine testing. If I find out it's like, oh, you do urine testing. Well, I wouldn't have even applied here if I knew that you did that, because I think it's just, that is just some really crazy evil stuff. And I think the urine testing companies are doing something horribly wrong and immoral, and they should go away forever and never, ever, ever, ever come back, because unless somebody is testing to find out, if they've got cancer, it's for their benefit, to have it be a barrier to getting a better life or a better job makes you an evil person. I'm sorry, I know you didn't mean to be evil, but trust me, history's gonna look at you and go, And no amount of, but I was afraid that my employees would be unsafe at my work site. None of that is going to save you in the history books from being one of the fascists that allowed this at your work site. And those businesses will be named because people will remember having to go through urine testing. And I remember even arguing with employees about this and having the employees go, well, if you're not doing anything wrong, and I'm all, okay. Does no one get how totally Orwellian this is all getting? That you're actually telling me I should do something if I don't have anything to fear. Okay, fear is what this is all the fuck about right here. This is about being afraid. You're afraid. That's what's up. And now you're going to go and single people out. It's not even going to help you to do this. It's like an activity that they're giving you to do to keep you busy so that you don't actually find out what you should be afraid of, which is probably not a bunch of pot smokers or drug driving or any of this other crap. What you probably should be afraid of is like the environment or what's happening to our education system, or, whether or not our federal government is going to be able to continue to exist in the future if it cannot keep up with changing times. Because the times, they're changing faster. Faster and faster and faster and faster and faster and faster. And you don't need dinosaurs trying to get up to a gallop to keep up with us. You just don't need that. I might say the thing needs to be said. Should have been legalized in the 70s. This has been a gigantic merry-go-round of stupidity that has done nothing but harmed a lot of people and made a few people very wealthy and powerful. Helped their political careers. It's fucking disgusting. I'm not going to say we didn't save some people. Yeah, we probably did, that were in danger. But the overall devastation to our communities in Mexico and stuff like that is horrific and may not be something that people will be able to forgive for a very long time, even though we're willing. Because the reminders will be everywhere. Everywhere. Oh, this is from, see this pipe? Oh yeah, it's a sneaky toke. That's from when Prohibition used, oh, you see that? That's my old, from when Prohibition, and oh yeah, that's this, you see this? That's from back when we used to, it's gonna be a thing. Really, Grandpa? Really? That happened? How could we have been so stupid? Back in my day, I used to have to pee in a cup at school. I wasn't like you children. I didn't sit here in front of my monitor having a teacher from halfway across the world teaching me chemistry and being able to, manipulate. In our day, we had to pee in a cup to go to school. A tree grew in Brooklyn and we peed on it. I mean, I really try to contain my anger, but when I think history, when teachers, when classrooms, when college professors, when communities, when books are written, when people really look at the last 30 years, they're going to be very annoyed. And the more that you let this shit go on, the worse it's going to get. It's not going to make, I said this at the end of my last video because I didn't push a button again, I'm stupid. But okay, I said this at the end of my last video, I'm going to say it again. Waiting is not going to make it any less wrong. It's going to be more wrong. Waiting, dragging your feet, making excuses, trying to hang on, hoping that maybe somehow you're going to make it without thinking about seriously retooling what you're doing with your life, all you people that accept this urine, you're fucking up. You're flailing in the tar pits. You're a dinosaur. Get it through your head. And history is not going to judge you real nicely. Because, seriously, Grandpa's going to say, I had to pee in a cup to get a job. Thank God. I never tried the marijuana. Because, you see, back then, children, imagine what these conversations are going to be like in the future. And you're just making them pwn you more the longer that you make this shit go on. Merde. Okay, so I agree with Normal, though, that we have to be willing to accept our victories and be happy. I'd like to send that message out to all my stoner friends out there all over the world. I know how you feel. You feel scared the fuck to death. Just because why? You don't want to be an alcoholic. You just want to smoke some weed. You don't know why it makes you happy. You just know that it does. And you know that everybody telling you that you can't do it makes you really fucking unhappy. And they don't give a shit about that. I know exactly how the fuck that feels. And it's fucking horrible. So I want you to feel the freedom, the small gains that we've had. I want that for you. That's my frustration. Is I know there are people out there that still are getting fucked over. Even at our border, apparently, they would not let in one of these guys that does hats, I guess. They were talking about on Hash Church, and he was going to go to the Chalice Cup, and here at our American border, they stopped him and turned him back to Brazil or wherever they came from, because they saw their hat with marijuana leaves and gave him a whole bunch of shit. And whatevs for them, but just give us a website and we'll order those hats and pwn the hell out of those idiots. Just give us a website, bro. Where do I order this hat? Because you don't have to bring it to America. If I find out that they're doing that, well then, now I want the hat even more, So there are still places where people are being turned away at the border, harassed for a hat. Oh, do you use marijuana? Oh, well then, you're a suspicious person. Your politics is not like ours. I mean, how George Orwellian kind of crap is that? And how do you justify it? How do you sit there and be Big Brother, part of Big Brother, and justify that? I don't care what you believe. What I think is, you're really wrong. So much wrong now I gotta get up and do something about it. And it's gonna be like a lifetime fight. And okay, fine. That's how wrong I think you are. Whatevs. I'm here. I ain't going nowhere. From urine testing, to kicking kids out of school, to kicking people out of their jobs, to threatening businesses that your employees must comply with the state in order to, what? It's all just get the hell out of here with that crap, man. No way are we going to let all that crap happen. You're going to get a fight, all right? Just know it now. You're going to get a fight. So these urine test guys want to fight, we're going to fight you. Because I've seen what your guys do for a living. It's freaking lame. Pee testers. It doesn't even sound like something that's honorable. It doesn't even sound like something you should be proud of. They have to put costumes and stuff on it to make it look undisgusting. I mean, not disgusting. because it's a disgusting, foul. What are you doing? Feces collector. What is the matter with you? Ugh, are you okay? Can you not get a real job? You're a state feces collector. Oh, I just, I will never not be angry at the urine testing. It should have never even been allowed, ever, as even a suggestion. That it should have started with, Reagan started it with federal employees. We should have never allowed that. That is just absolutely disgusting. Oh, Ronald Reagan. I mean, I never thought of him as a fascist, but that is some fascist stuff to do right there, man. It's not the stars upon Mars, it's the stars in your urine sample. The stars, it's like the star belly sneeches, the pee of the star belly sneeches. Oh, it's so gross. Oh, and then of course a guy shows up with a machine that's going to give you clean pee so you can get that job. Oh my God, what is the matter with you people? I can't believe you just allow this stuff to go on and you're just not even, you're okay with it. It's crazy. I mean, it's like all the things that all those old fairy tale kind of stories and Aesop's fables and everything warn you about as a child. Don't do this. The emperor wears no clothes. All right. You know, ah, and then you just go ahead and do it anyway. Oh, that is my frustration. That's where I have a hard time accepting our victories because it is just like, ah, I just have to accept that the world is crazy. They want to test your pee. I'm not surprised they don't want to drink it. I mean, I don't know. They can't get enough up into your privacy. There is no morals. There is no sense of civility anymore. Your business is that you work for is so just disgusting that they want your pee. Your how was that ever allowed? I just can't even deal with it. I could go on for days. It sounds like I have, so I'll stop doing that. Oh, I'll smoke one more bowl here. Not out of this pipe though, because my coffee got cold. I'll show you something I made. So we'll change the subject. And actually, I made like 5 more of these. And I am going to try to, like sell them to some people nearby who don't want to pay for expensive bongs, but think it would be really cool to have a bottle bong and R2 chicken, frankly, to use the drill and drill them out. So I can do that, so I did it, and I'm gonna charge them for like the cost of the stem and my time, which is like $5, so $10. But I thought, what a great idea for other stoners to think of, that you could take this, where is it? Oh, keep everything at my feet. That you could take, where is it? This long, 14 minutes. This tile drill, see it? Tile drill that I got the idea from Soundrone, and he has like a whole website where he sells the drills. He sells much better stems than I have, okay, that are actually bent, so you don't have to lean the bong back. I don't have the money to send away for $40 worth of stems, but because that would increase, and the people I know, they need little bowls. They don't have a lot of money, so they need cheap, right? But his drill's much cheaper than mine. His drill is a Dremel drill, so it's less expensive. It's like $10. This one was like 20, and so I had to make a project out of making more of them in order to justify paying $20 for that. Anyway, so I built these, and I thought this was kind of a good idea, and I thought I would tell you guys about it, that if you wanted to like produce some things for not just yourself but other people, once again, if you check out Soundrone's YouTube channel, and it's Soundrone, okay, and his 420 Armory, that he can show you kits and stuff, so you can make your own, not just, with the metal stem, but with a glass stem, or like with a rig and stuff like that, and you can make your own bong out of a bottle. And the bottles are super tough. I'm even using the wine bottles in my garden as stepping stones because they are just bulletproof. They're made to deal with things under pressure. They make a pretty good bong. I decorated this one with etching cream. See? And this was like free bottle, and then like, see, $2 for the bowl, $2 for the stem, $2 for the down tube thingy, and like, I don't know, 50 cents or something for the grommet. So very inexpensive way for you to do things for other stoners that that can't afford super fancy bongs. Maybe they have a bottle, that they want to do. It's not that hard to drill. Just don't electrocute yourself because it deals with water. Just be careful, is all. Someone's leaving a message after the tone. No! Go away! We cut the cable! Cut the cable. I keep trying to sell us stuff. Go away! We don't like you! Oh, there's no water in here. And I went and loaded it. It's this one I was gonna do. See, this is my vase. This is my favorite because the mouthpiece is perfect. This one I actually made for hiking and taking outdoors because I don't want to break a good bong. So I got this one I can just shove in my backpack. And when you're in public, it just looks like you're a wino. And that's so acceptable that people hardly blink. I mean, that's pretty freaking good for like a homemade bong. Thank you, Soundrone. I have so much fun putting these together. I gotta stop doing it. I mean, how many more of these do I need? I don't have that many friends that are interested in having one. The way I do it is I position the bottle like this, right? With a towel in a bucket with water that comes to about here, right? Water. Okay, so then I drill. And you just kind of hold it real still and practice because you'll shake at the end when it pops through and break the bottle. So real soft, you can feel it'll start getting more high pitch as it gets closer to the end, right? And you'll feel it and you'll think, shouldn't it be through by now? But no, it isn't. Okay, it's quick, but it's slow. It's slow, but it's quick. It's quicker than you think, but it's way slower than you think. So you burn, and then make sure that there's water, and it's got a good kind of little flow of water. I fill the bottle with water too. And don't push, because Soundrone explains all that. Don't push, because it creates heat in the back of the glass, and it'll bust through and crack it. And then you drill through, and the glass will either be here or on the inside, and it'll just be like a little coin, right? So you get that out of there, and because it's this rough thing, it does a pretty good job of making the edge so it's not super sharp, right? Like will cut you. And then you just put your grommet in there and make sure that you get the stem wet. I just use the bucket. It's still in the bucket. The whole thing's underwater. And then just work it. And what I do is I shove it into the side like this, right? So that's what I did. You want to make sure that whatever you're picking to use for your bottle is not so wide that the stem can't stick cockeyed against the glass in the back. That's how you get it like this. But then you also have to cut the glass. So it's like this, So I made some, and then I made a couple of steamrollers out of short bottles to see if anybody dug that idea, because one of the Sean gave me this idea. So I took some short bottles like this one that are bigger around, and I put a short stem in that with the screw-on bowl and drilled another hole for a carb, and that way you could put on any bowl you want, and you just got a cool glass bottle as your steamroller, and then you could set it like, like this, right? And that way you put a flower and it's kind of discreet or whatever. It's just neat. Like this one, you could do this, like this is the bottle that would be the body of the pipe. So I got real crafty. I didn't take any pictures. I hope my son did. I have to ask him if he can take some pictures, and I'll post them on my Tumblr or something. But I did like a Sprite bottle and a squirt bottle and Fanta, because they all had really neat textural shapes. And the squirt bottle actually has a twist in it, and I wondered if I would be able to get the grommet to fit properly in there, and it worked, Oh, an hour and 21. So anyway, I just want to tell you about this cool project I did this weekend. Show off again one of my homemade bongs. Give me an excuse to take another hit. Kind of smoked a lot of my weed. I need to slow down to get through the rest of the month. It was a wonderful weekend. We had so much fun. But now it's time to slow it down, not get so gluttonous about it. Oh, it's so good. All right. So, you guys have a good week. You stay high, and goodbye. And remember that we have had a lot of victories, and there is no perfect solution, and that any victory is an opportunity to work on more. That your today's compromises will change into victories later on, because you can't just have it all at once. And I know that from working in the union, working with teachers, working for education, that, you can win a lot of people over, but you can't win everybody over. And some of those people are going to be true believers in your own organization, and you got to still support them, and understand where they're coming from. But know that you have to move forward and you got to keep gaining ground. You can't just stand and argue about the plays in the middle of the game. You know what I mean? So, you take it easy, and remember, we have had a lot of victories, and we're going to have more. And this year is going to be amazing. And I can't wait to see what's going to happen. And I hope that all of you get to cry, because you're going to be free someday too. I hope that you get the same feeling Danedro and I have had, which is that, it's still illegal at federal level. People blah, 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 blah. But you can't come and just bust down my door, or take my family, or prevent me from going to an amusement park, or in the future, bar me from a job because you don't like my politics, you don't like the substance I choose to ingest. To me, that's like amazing. All right, so adios. Take it easy. Oh, I gotta stop this.